What you doing? I'm your Otakutainer, the AC Stories, with this Otakutainment Reviews. I'm talking about EnDjinn Quest, a one-shot mana by Seji-bot. This is part 1 Oro-Djinnz, which came out on December 25th, 2023 on the oneshot website. It is 34 pages in total, but story-wise and extra pages-wise, there's a little bit of difference with that. Now, you may have noticed I said ManaA, even though this is very much like a manga. A ManaA is something, even before me reading this, I did not know much about, but I'm so glad I found out about it and it exists. So, a ManaA, M-A-N-A, capital A, think it's stylized for a reason. I'm not sure exactly what that is, and anything, this has inspired me to make a whole nother video just to cover what a ManaA actually is and look more into that. But for now, a ManaA, not exactly a manga, but it's more like East meets West when it comes to comics. You see a whole lot of influence from manga and inspiration from it, while also some Western comics and stuff like that you would see in, like, you know, kind of typical superhero-esque stereotypical comics, tropes like that. But as far as EnDjinn goes, there's a whole lot more manga influence with a little sprinkle of Western comic stylizations in there. For the most part, the manga part of it is especially seen in the layout, the formatting, and even more specifically, it's very Shonen Jump. With all the extra stuff in it. It's like the title page is set up just like it. And another thing, there's a lot of different title pages. It makes it seem like this first part was meant to be put out in even smaller chunks, because it seems like every few pages, like every handful of pages, there's another title page looking page, and I'm all for it because the art is cool, but it did make me wonder how this was supposed to be rolled out in the first place. There's also an author page like you would see in any kind of volume of manga, except for this author page is right at the beginning, which works because it gives you a bit about the background on the story, where it comes from, and maybe a little bit to get you in the mindset of how the story is going to go. But other little things are very manga-esque, especially Shonen Jump, is there's a page after the title page with the series logo. Always really cool to see that. There's also a page telling which direction to read, and then the little ones at the top of the page, it's these little details that are cool. There's also little notes at the top, bottom, in between the panels to explain terms, and all of it looks really clean, professional, and it's these little things that just are so satisfying. I don't know, maybe it's just the otaku part of me that is really like, these details nailed down pat. It's so good and looks good. I'm loving it. Story and art wise, there's obviously with this story a lot of inspiration from Dragon Ball. The art style is nostalgic. There's some spots where it's the intentional like hand sketch look, and then there's the rest of it that is the typical manga lines and how you would expect to see the art, but all of it is a unique tone with like obvious inspiration from Dragon Ball. There's also coloring that is really different than manga to set it apart from that. Some of it still has the hand sketch or hand colored look to it, which goes back with just having this intentional tone. To me, that looks like it makes it more dramatic, like not really pop, but almost like how do you describe it? Like a memory-esque, or like almost a vision-esque, almost not necessarily dreamy, but like an intentional fog. Like, here's something to show you, but it's not the main focus yet, kind of thing. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyways, the other really cool thing is there's color accents in the art that just really make certain things pop, and it draws your attention, obviously, but it's not anything that would be like super significant. It's like the fire from a spaceship, stuff like that, or just like seeing the energy techniques, which I'll get to more story stuff later. And it's just little things that really help it stand out. And I've seen this a little bit in other manga. This one does it a little bit more, which I like, because it's more consistency with it instead of just like, here's a random spot. This is something I would expect to see throughout the rest, and I'm not overdone, so it still has like, it still feels a little special when it does pop up, even if it's not something like super big that it's doing it with. And then story-wise, trope-wise, the story looks like, even just from this first part, it's going to be a more classic and really goes back to like the Dragon Ball inspiration of like a male female duo doing something kind of like the Goku and Bulma, or like you would see in so many other things like a Natsu Lutsi, stuff like that. It's a common thing that I feel like you don't see as much anymore, of just like male female duo going about doing something. But with the art and this kind of pairing, like I said before, a lot of Dragon Ball inspiration, and not bad things, just, man, it's nostalgic. You don't see stuff like this anymore. Now, before I go on any further, I am going to finally remember to do this. Spoiler alert, I'm about to really dig into this story because it's a good story. I like where it's going, even if it's just the start, and even if it's just a one-shot, which it feels like it should be so much bigger than a one-shot. But before you watch this, I would recommend reading this first part of the chapter first. Go to oneshot website. I'll leave a link. Read it, then come back and see what I have to say about the story. So there's a lot to dig into in the beginning, because it kind of jumps around of like prologue of lore, a beginning introduction, and then before it gets into the actual story. So first, there's just one page of lore. There's someone called Seji-bot. Sounds familiar. Who is a supreme lord, and I guess just seems like a all-powerful god of the realms or something like that. Then there is a guardian, Oro-Djinnz, that is able to seal away Seji-bot, but notice there is a younger, more capable warrior that will replace as a guardian. Next, it moves on to a couple pages to open up the story, meeting the main protagonist, who is ahkai, meeting elders, fighting a celestial guard, Gojo-jin. It has a very doomsday feeling to it, and this is where it goes back to like the coloring, because these pages are colored, and the kind of feeling I was getting from it that I apparently had kind of a bit of trouble explaining, but it's really cool and I like the feel of it. Now, the other thing in this, and it took me a couple read-throughs of these first few pages to really get what was going on for me, just because it's a one-shot and stuff is packed in it, and I don't think it's supposed to be too obvious anyways. There's an old man ahkai kind of refers to, and I'm thinking it's Oro-Djinnz, because a guy's like something about asking a name, and then a person's like, my name is, and then it cuts off. So there's something about getting weaker, because if this person is, or Jin is, Oro-Djinnz, was not able to finish off this Golo-jin in one shot, so maybe getting weaker, and that's why it's referring to need someone younger, more capable to replace as a guardian. Cool. Then it's jumps to 7 rotations later. Not sure what a rotation is equivalent to, because when the Earth rotates, it's a day. A revelation's a year. Time is different because this isn't Earth, so I'm not sure how much a rotation would equivalent to, but we probably don't really need it, because they are at Sky Isle Gats in the upper realm. Learning about Sol Luna, which seems to me like a combination of sun and moon, getting power, which we think would mean getting power from the sun and the moon. It's not totally explained what Sol Luna is. That seems like lore that would take a whole lot of lore dumping to get into, which probably isn't needed. It's some kind of power. But yeah, ahkai is training with Oro-Djinnz, some other man, so one of those other elders. We get to see ahkai cast number 7 of Sol Luna, and all we really see is explosion from it, but this is also more of where the coloring highlights comes in, which is really cool to see. And then after this, we get to see ahkai is ready for the 3rd trial to become a full soul caster. A djinn that's able to master Sol Luna. Again, more lore that we might need later, or if the story is expanded, we'll learn then. So this 3rd trial is to go and receive the trial realm tablet from the mortal plane, Sol Supo. It's supposed to be able to awaken dormant power in the holder and alter balance of the 3 realms. What the 3rd realm is, we don't know yet. It's not introduced. Maybe later in the different part. We'll have to see. Now, cut to Islet of Wisdom with the 3 other elders just sitting around looking at a glass ball kind of thing. Just that on ahkai. That's it. Go on to the next more ahkai. is given an end craft. Kind of looks like a stereotypical flying saucer shape. Also, just goes back to that like earlier manga style of how are we going to make these things look? Something very identifiable. Cool. Ahkai doesn't know how to fly it though, so luckily it has autopilot. Now we jump to the Bali Forest on Solsupo. We see a couple weird critters, which I hope this is a constant, something that's just constantly in the background, because I love little things like this. It just has a little charm to it. And I hope, well, we might see what they actually are, but also I'm fine with never knowing what they are. They're just there, and it's nice. But that's not the main focus of why we jumped here. We also meet a Solar Knight engineer, ManaA, looking for a battery core for the Soul Council, kind of just really upset having to do this work at all. Then we jump back to Ahkai, who arrives, and at first is lost, but then has a stellar sense that points in the direction. So we cut back to ManaA one last time to end the first part of the chapter, who is confronted by 3 goons, or scouts. They really just like typical goons. So that's how it's going to end, and with my predictions, I'm thinking either it's going to be the typical, these 3 goons will capture ManaA, take her away, and then we'll see Ahkai happen to stumble upon ManaA, and they will escape together. Or, what I think actually might happen, because it'll be a lot cooler, is ManaA fights them off because they're just whatever goons. ManaA already seems like a badass, kind of has an attitude, and right when ManaA finishes them up, Ahkai pops up and is like, oh, look at this, and then they go off together to do their respective missions. Battery core, which we don't know what it'll be. It might be the tablet that Akai's looking for, because coincidences work out like that. But yeah, that is the end of the first part. The only other thing about the story, and it goes more into lore and just try and guess what it's about, is everyone has bandages on their hands and arms. And Akai's warned not to take them off, but that's really the only instance anyone refers to them, and I don't know what they're there for, and I can't even guess. I guess they hold back some kind of power, maybe because they're djinn, not necessarily humans or people. Maybe the bandages is what holds their like djinnly presence in, contains it into like a human form. But I don't know why Ahkai would be warned about it unless there's something even more special that we don't know yet. That is it for me covering the actual story. I really like it. I'm really looking forward to what the second part's going to be. Hoping there's even more than a second part. I don't know how it can be a one-shot in the first place if there's multiple parts, but that doesn't matter because I want more because I'm a greedy reader, especially when it's something I like. But there are just a couple more opinions that pop up after reading it. You can easily see the influence of both Japanese and American cartoon humor. There's a lot of humor in it that doesn't go overboard, not overused, but especially in Akai's faces, you see a lot of the like almost meme American cartoon face, just like scrunched up and stuff like that. And then just kind of typical tropey Japanese humor that you would see sprinkled out in manga and anime. And then one other just random thing, there's an interesting use of bolding words, and I'm not sure why those either. If there is a reason, I missed it. It seems random to me, and maybe there is an importance I'm just missing. Or maybe it's just style-wise? I don't know. There's just random bolding of words that to me didn't seem significant, but maybe they are and I missed something. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see if anything happens in the later parts that would trigger some kind of aha moment when we get there. So, like I like to do with everything I read, I like to talk about the titles and where I think they come from. Even though I could probably look up stuff a lot more or just ask where the title comes from, but this is me hypothesizing. So, EnDjinn. So djinn are the people of the upper realm. We think of djinns kind of like genies, that kind of stuff, but these look like humans for the most part. That's why I went back and was like, maybe the bandages are what's helping them maintain like a human form. But everyone has these, and we haven't met any like human people or anybody without bandages yet, so I can't say for sure what exactly djinn are, if they are these like kind of magical beasts. They do have powers, but are there other humans, or is this just like the people of this universe? That everyone's a djinn, it doesn't matter what humans are at all. But there's another part of it that's the N part. I don't know what N is supposed to mean. To me, when I first read it, and even when I first typed it out, I typed it out as end EnDjinn, EnDjinn, and maybe it's put together like it's the last djinn or the last guardian. But there's also the end craft, the little spaceship ahkai takes. And I don't know what the end's supposed to be. An end, and I don't know. That's probably something I'm gonna have to ask later about what that means, because I can't figure out what it would be. And then quest, obviously, it's a quest ahkai is doing right now for his 3rd trial. And then the first part's title, Oro. When I first was reading it and see Oro, I'm like, oh, it's a surprise expression. But what would Oro-Djinnz be with a Z? Z probably stylized, but Oro-Djinnz, a surprise djinns. But then, because like I said, I had to go back to the first few pages and reread them just to make sure I got all the lore, and realized there's Oro-Roji, and I was like, oh, Oro, maybe some kind of title. And so Oro-Djinnz, okay, so will Oro ahkai be the next guardian? Is that what's going on here? I don't know, but yeah, first was just a surprise expression, Oro. But I don't know, it has something to do. I feel like it's just a title, and then Djinnz, it's just looking for the next guardian. I feel like is what this part's doing, I guess. Sure. So that is it for actually talking about this first part, because we need that second part. The second part is planned to be coming out on February 7th, 2024. So less than a month from when this is going out. But I don't know how many parts there's going to be. I kind of hope more than 2 parts. I can see how this will get wrapped up in the second part, but I can also see it going for at least 3 parts. Nah, maybe 2 parts. I don't know. Another question I have to ask. Like I said, I like to hypothesize before asking my questions, just see if I'm right or not. But yeah, if you didn't read it yet and listened to this already and got the end, you can find the links to the chapter on Sorugo. Then really you should just check out everyone on Sorugo. It's a new ManaA place to just read these from. A lot of cool characters. I've looked through it. I haven't read anyone else yet, but all the stuff on there looking really cool. So go ahead and check that stuff out too. And hopefully I will get around to seeing more about what ManaA is, so I can maybe make a video of that, because it's really interesting. It may take in and planning this video a lot longer, because I started diving more into what ManaA is, because I like it. I like that it's not just saying English manga, because what is that? It's hard to say, and it's what I really commend on, because yeah, this really feels like it could be Japanese manga for the most part. And then you have these other little instances where it's like, oh, this is very like a Western like influence coming in it too, just these little style things. So I like that it's not just English manga, it's a whole nother thing, something that really combines and does really well in combining this Eastern and Western comic format. So I really need to dive more into that, and you probably should too, even before I get to it. But one last thing, follow Seji-bot on social media, Twitter, Instagram. I'll leave links to all of that too. I've been going through this process. It's been really cool to see, and I already am a big fan of like seeing a manga process, comics process. One of my favorite series is Bakuman, which is all about making manga. So following along with this and just seeing and just being really proud of Seiji and seeing all of this, it's been really cool to see. I'm looking forward to see what else. Even if it's beyond EnDjinn Quest, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming from Seji-bot on Sorugo. So be sure to follow all this stuff. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about EnDjinn Quest for now. Second part comes out, I'm sure I'll have so much more to say. But yeah, if you want to talk more about it, leave comments. But also read it. Leave comments on Seji-bot's chapter, social media, tell how much you like it. But besides that, if you do want to talk just more to me about it, you can also follow me on social media social media at theacstories. You can also email me at theacstories@gmail.com, or I have a Discord you can join. We can talk about all kinds of stuff there. But I also have a Ko-fi, a couple of supporters there that I would like to thank: Vix Lab and Julio Vasquez. If you also want to support me, I would greatly appreciate it. It's really cool if you do, but you don't have to. Either way. But yeah, that is it. If you like what I have to say, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to easily follow me here, go ahead and subscribe. But until next time, I have been your Otakutainer, the AC Stories. Thank you so much. Bye.